I'm doing a Bible study on a topic that I feel like a lot of us go through at some point in our lives, or even go through multiple times in our life. So it's about, God, when will it be my turn? There's so many times I've asked that question, and even in talking to some people, that has come up of like, well, when am I going to be next? So when is it going to be my turn? It's not fair. Everyone else is, getting what I want, and I'm sitting here and nothing's happening. If that's never happened to you, praise God. Comment below on, what you do. But if it has, this story in the Bible, I feel like we can all relate to and learn from. So many of you might have heard the story before, the woman with the issue of blood. If you haven't, that's okay, because I will read it to you. It's not that long of a story, and you can find it in like the Gospels. However, I'm going to focus on Mark because I feel like there's a little more information in this book. So in Mark 5 verse 25, it begins a story about the woman with the issue of blood. Again, sorry if I'm looking down. I have my Bible and my journal. So actually, before I even start, like with my Bible studies, the Bible that I use is this study Bible right here. Bring it up closer. The Nlt Study Bible, and it is great. The reason why I love it so much is because they're like half of the Bible, like the top part is like the word, and then below what they have, I'll show you that again too. And then below, you see they have little commentary, like they kind of just talk about what you just read basically. So they kind of explain what is happening, like what's going on. And I love it because it gives me such a different perspective on what I just read. I might have saw it this way, but then it'll explain, like, in context, this is actually what's happening, and this is why they said this. And I'm like, whoa. And I also love it because even before starting the book, it'll give, like, let's set the scene. And it will, like, kind of talk about what's going on, the context, and, who this person is, who wrote this book. And I love it because Bible study is not just, like, reading the Bible from cover to the end. No, it's really understanding, learning, taking a verse and picking it apart and seeing, like, what's happening, what's going on. And that's how you can really begin to understand and get an idea of what it is that you're reading. So I love it. I will encourage anyone to get a study Bible, and you can get them in different versions. And even if you just have a non-study Bible, that's okay too. You want to know why? Because the internet has everything. But don't believe everything you see you read on the internet, though. What I always try to do is, even having study Bible, I still look at different commentary, different text, other stuff, just because you want to make sure that what you're reading is accurate, and you also want to have different perspectives too. But anyway, back to the story of the woman with the issue of blood. So in Mark chapter 5 verse 25, it starts the story, and it goes, a woman in the crowd had suffered for 12 years with constant bleeding. She had suffered a great deal from many doctors, and over the years she had spent everything she had to pay them. But she had gotten no better. In fact, she had gotten worse. She had heard about Jesus, so she came up behind him through the crowd and touched his robe. For she thought to herself, if I can just touch his robe, I will be healed. Immediately, the bleeding stopped, and she could feel in her body that she had been healed of her terrible condition. Jesus realized at once that healing power had gone out from him. So he turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my robe?" His disciples said to him, "Look at this crowd pressing around you. How can you ask, 'Who touched me?'" But he kept on looking around to see who had done it. Then the frightened woman, trembling at the realization of what had happened to her, came and fell to her knees in front of him and told him what she had done. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Your suffering is over." Oh gosh, I just love that story. So what's happening? As I just read, there's a woman who's suffering with constant bleeding. Why was this an issue? In Leviticus 15 verse 25 to 29, it talks about like the laws of it talks about the Jewish law. It says that women, let me look at my journal, I wrote this down. It says that if a woman had constant bleeding, then she was considered unclean and no one should touch her, and if anyone touches her, then they become unclean and they have to like wash and clean themselves and do all these different things. So even looking at the story, you see that she was already considered unclean, and no one, you know, even wanted to be around her. No one even could touch her. No, everyone considered her unclean. So you can just imagine how she's feeling, of just like, you know, feeling so distant and feeling so abandoned from, you know, society, and people pointing at her and looking at her as this dirty and disgusting woman. And you know, that must have been incredibly hard for her. I feel like in a number of ways we all can feel like this sometimes. Like we feel like our past constantly haunts us and it makes us think that we are unclean, or that people are pointing fingers at us, or sometimes people might be, you know, judging you based off of, you know, how you look. I know for me, growing up, I was always made fun of for my looks, and you know, people call me, I remember kids called me like ugly, and it was so hard to deal with, because it was like, you know, the people that you feel like you're supposed to look like and be like, you know, they're against you, and I'm sure that's how she felt. You know, everyone's like against her because according to law, they're not even allowed to touch her. So I could just imagine how hard and difficult it was for her. In verse 26, it said she had suffered a great deal from many doctors, and over the years she had spent everything she had to pay them, but she had gotten no better. In fact, she had gotten worse. When I read that, I was just like, oh my gosh, that must have been so hard dealing with something. And you know, you're going to the doctor is saying, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to try this, we're going to try this. Nothing's working. If anything, everything's getting worse for her. And she's feeling like she has absolutely nothing. So just, you know, take a step back and think about your life, and think about a time, or this could even be right now, when you feel like you're doing everything that you can. You've exhausted every option. You've tried everything. You're doing all that you can. You've reached out to everyone. Whatever it is that you're dealing with, no one's able to help you. You've done plan A, B, C, D, all the way through Z, and nothing's changed. In fact, things have gotten worse. How do you feel? You start feeling like, God, when is it going to be my time? God, when are things going to start to change? I am reaching out to you. I'm being a good Christian. I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do. But why is it that nothing's changing? Why is it that nothing is happening? And you get so frustrated. So you can just imagine that she was probably at a point where she was frustrated, and she was just like, I'm doing everything. And she probably felt like this is it. Like, I can't do anything else, and probably wanted to quit. However, she doesn't do that. So when you look further, it says in verse 27, she had heard about Jesus, so she came up behind him through the crowd and touched his robe. So she reaches out and she touches his garment. In a crowd, she stretches and she makes sure that she gets a hold of that garment. And instantly she was healed. Wow. You know, a lot of you are probably thinking, well, of course she was healed. It was Jesus. If I touched Jesus' robe, I'll be healed and all my problems will be gone. And then you're probably thinking, well, how does this even relate to it not being my time? You'll be surprised, because it does. So when you see later on, Jesus is like, someone touched me. And his disciples are like, well, yeah, someone touched you, because you're in a crowd and people are brushing up on you. And so when I read that first, I was like, okay, here's where my thinking began to change. I'm just like, well, if anyone touches Jesus, then they're going to be healed. But there were so many people touching Jesus, and it's like, we don't see in the Bible that it talks about all these different healings that happened because someone brushed against Jesus in the crowd, or someone, touched his shoulder, So I was like, okay, so it wasn't just touching the garment that healed her. And then later on in verse 34, he says, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace, your suffering is over." Wow. When I read that, I was like, wow. So, you've done everything that you could. You've gotten to a point where you feel like you've exhausted all your options. There's nothing else for you to do. You've tried A through Z, and nothing is working. You can say, well, Danicia, I have faith. I trust God. And that's amazing. But there are moments in that time of waiting your turn where you begin to lose faith, where you begin to think to yourself, God has forgotten me. God doesn't want me to be successful. God doesn't want good things for me. So I kind of just give up. I kind of don't want to trust anymore. I'm just going to be like, oh, whatever. I'll just take life as it comes. I got to that point before of thinking like, you know what? It's whatever. I should just stop trying. And you begin to lose faith. But let's look at the woman with the issue of blood. She didn't lose faith. She said, you know what? I've tried everything that I could do. I've done my very best. But I heard about this man named Jesus who heals. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to reach out and touch him. Why I wanted to share this story in particular is because when you get to that point of thinking, well, when is it going to be my turn? God, where are you? God, are you hearing me? God, can you understand what I'm going through? I want you to continue to reach out in faith. I'm not saying that, Jesus is going to be in a crowd next week, so, get ready and go out and retouch his garment. It wasn't the reaching out and touching of, the clothes of Jesus' clothes that healed her, but it was her faith. So regardless of if she touched his garment 100 times and she had no faith, she wasn't going to be healed. So when you get to that moment of thinking like, well, God, when is it going to be my turn? I'm starting to lose faith. I'm starting to lose hope. I'm starting to think that things are just not going to happen for me. Everyone else around me is getting the things that I've been praying for. Everyone else around me is being, amazing, and I'm here stagnant in the same place that I've been. I'm not where I want to be. This doesn't feel good. This is not fun. God, where are you? When will it be my turn? So in that moment, in every single one of those moments, reach out in faith, trusting God, realizing that He hasn't forgotten you, realizing that you are His son, you are His daughter, and He has amazing things planned for you. Sometimes you get to a point of thinking like, why am I going through so many different seasons? I've been in this season for how many years? I've been going through the same thing. I've been going through this and that and all this stuff, and you've tried everything, even when you're just like, you know what, God, I'm tired of waiting on you, so I'm gonna go try it and go do my own thing. And then we all know how that works. It doesn't work out. You fail terribly. I had everything planned out. I was just gonna help God a little bit and go do my own thing, and it still didn't work. So you tried that, you tried this, you tried everything, and nothing worked at all. And you're just like, man. But one thing that I wrote down when I was looking into this story was, sometimes God will let us go through every option so that when we come to Him, we know that there is nothing else. There is no other way. So when you finally come to him, you are fully believing, so that you have no doubt that God will come through. Whoa. I love that. And I like put a star next to it. I was like, whoa. God, this is so true. You know, you think that the things that you're going through, the trials, the tests, the seasons, that it serves no purpose. And you know in the back of your mind and deep down that it does serve a purpose. But sometimes you get to that thinking of just like, nah, this can't be life. Like, this is not real. And sometimes I sit and think, I'm just like, man, I'm crazy, because this is not happening right now. But it's beautiful in the sense that, you know, we go through all these different options. We tried everything that we can just to realize that nothing's working out. And this is like the woman with the issue of blood. She tried everything. She went to doctors. She spent all her money. And nothing worked out. And I believe that that's what made her faith so strong. You know, she knew that this was her last option. She knew that there was nothing else out there that could help her, but only Jesus. So it's the same thing like with us. Like when you've tried everything that you can, when you've exhausted every option, and when it's time to come to the Lord, you're like, you know what, God, I've done everything. There is nothing left that I can do. I am tired. I am struggling. I can't do this. That's when you see yourself fully surrender. Because when you come to God at this point, you're like, there's nothing else. God, it's only you, because I've tried this, I've tried that, I've tried everything. And nothing worked. So I'm coming to you now because I have nothing. I give up everything because there is nothing left for me to do. And God's just like, alright, let's get to work. I love that, because when we come to God and when we reach out to him in faith, it has to be a full surrender of knowing that there is nothing else, of knowing that it's only him who can get you through this. Sometimes we might think in the back of our mind, well, I didn't try this, I didn't try that, so what God has given me is not all that great, because maybe if I would have did it this other way, it would have been better. But when we try it out, when we realize that every other option that we tried, that it has failed, then it's just like, what God has is incredible, perfect, because everything else, you know, just crashed and burned. But sometimes we have to go through every single option, exhaust every single option, go through all those seasons, just so we know that God is the only one who can really take care of us, who can really solve our problems. And so you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's great, Tanisha, like, I have faith, I'm trusting, I'm being humble, I'm being patient through all of this, but still nothing's changing, nothing's happening. I'm really losing faith. I'm really getting to a point of wanting to quit. I don't know what to do. And so I've gotten to this point, and even sometimes it happens. It's not something that just, it happens once and it never happens again. Like, it does happen again. But think about a time when you felt the closest to God. And for me, I can think about it, you know, when I've had heartbreak, when I was going through really rough situations and I had no one else who I could reach out to. Not saying that I didn't have people around me. You could be surrounded by so many people and talking to them, but you're hearing the same thing over, nothing's really changing, and you're just like, you feel like there's nothing else. And you really had to just turn to God because there was no one else that you could turn to. So when I think about a time when I felt closest to God, it was in those moments of realizing, like, wow, like, I have nothing else. God, I only have you. And God really shows himself. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirits are crushed. The righteous person faces many troubles, but the Lord will come to their rescue each time. For the Lord protects the bones of the righteous. not one of them is broken. So that's Psalm 34 verses 18 through 20. And I love that because in moments where you feel like you have nothing, and for me, like, thinking about time when I felt closest to God was when I did have a broken heart, when I did feel like there was nothing else and things were just going wrong and everything was just going crazy. It says it in His word, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. So think about a time when you felt closest to God. You know, in time of brokenness, in time of you know, wanting to quit, in times of just thinking that you are worthless, in times of thinking that you're not good enough, you really get to a point of, like, you know what, I've exhausted all my options. Let me try Jesus. And in those moments, it's so hard to see that. And even in stuff that I'm dealing with right now, it's hard to see that. But I'm beginning to understand and learn that a lot of those moments are for growing in God and for healing, not just for healing, but for Him to get close to you, for Him to say, I need to show you some things about yourself, and I need to show you some things about me. And I'm able to do this in this weak moment of yours. I know that it's hard. I know that it's rough. But here is where I can really come inside of your heart. And here's where I can really show myself to you. It's like He's saying, my daughter, my son, I know that this is hard. But I'm right here. This brokenness is going to bring you closer to me. I desire to be with you. I desire to be in your heart. I desire to be your companion. And in this moment of brokenness, I am here. I am with you. And I'm going to show you so much. You're going to learn so much that you might not understand in the moment. But after, you're going to begin to see you're going to begin to see how necessary that time was for me to draw close to you, and for me to show you things. So, wow. So just in being in that moment of, God, when is it going to be my turn? God is just like, I've heard you. I see you. Continue to reach out to me in faith, because I'm here. There are some things that I'm working on. There are some things that I'm molding in you. There's some things that I'm working on in you. So don't look to the left. Don't look at everyone else around you, but focus on me. Reach out in faith to me, just like the woman with the issue of blood in the crowd full of people. She had one mindset, and that was to reach out in faith to touch Jesus' garment. And the same is true in your situation. Everyone around you is flourishing. Everyone around you is getting the things that you've been praying for. But don't focus on that. In the crowd full of people, just focus on reaching out in faith. So in that moment of thinking, well, it's God, it's time. It's my time. Remember that He's the one that has the plan. He's the one that has the timing. He's the one that says that He has good things for you. And it says in verse 19, the righteous person faces many troubles, but the Lord comes to the rescue each time. It doesn't say when. It doesn't say it's going to be at this time. But it says that He comes to their rescue at each time. So take heart and trust in His word. And as I'm speaking to you, I'm talking to myself, because wow, there are some things that I just get to a point of thinking, like, you know what, God, this is never going to happen. You read all these different things, and you begin to form in your mind, well, this is just not going to happen. You know, people have told me this, people have said this. God is just like, I'm right here. I'm close to your broken heart. I'm close to your troubles. I'm close to your heart that is trying to fall apart, but I'm not going to let it. God's just like, I'm not going to let you fall apart. And even at this age of, for me, 22, it's just like, I want everything, you know, to be happening so fast and so quick, and God's just like, relax, I need this time with you. So we can really learn from this story about having faith and realizing that in this time of waiting for God, in the time of thinking, well, God, when is it going to be my turn? this is a time when our faith can be the strongest. Why? Because we've tried everything. You've tried everything. You realize that everything that you've been trying just hasn't been working. Things haven't been working out whatsoever. But God's just like, well, here's where your faith is getting stronger. God's like, in every single one of those failed attempts, it's going to show you that I'm the only option that you have. Each one of those failed attempts just helped to increase your faith. Every single time, man, that didn't work out. So when you turn to God, you know that there's nothing else that you could have done, but only God is your answer. Before I close out, I just want to share a prayer for all of you who, including myself, who are at the point in your life where you're like, God, what's next? God, what's happening? God, I want it to be my turn, but I also want to be according to your will. So just help me to have that patience. So before I close out this Bible study, I just want to share a prayer just to encourage you and to let you know that you're not alone in this. So yeah, God, I just thank you for who you are. God, I thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity to be able to just share your word with everyone. God, I thank you for who you are. God, I thank you for waking me up this morning in my right mind, knowing that there's nothing good that I have done to even deserve that, but because of your grace and your mercies, you allow me to see this day. And God, I pray that you would just continue to just allow us to know that you are a good Father. God, I pray that on the days where our faith gets weak, that you will remind us that you are our strength. That you will remind us that we do not need to lean on our own understanding, but only on you, Lord God. I pray that on the days when our thoughts want to tell us that we are not good enough, when our thoughts want to tell us that we are not where we are supposed to be, when our thoughts are trying so hard to draw us away from you, when the enemy tries to make us feel like you are not near, that you remind us that you are here, that you are with us. God, I pray for each and every single person who feels like they've been stagnant, who feels like nothing is going for them, who feels like no good thing has been happening. But God, I pray that you would just encourage them, that you would just touch their hearts and their minds to know that you are with them in every single moment. Allow them to know that through every single trial, through every single problem, that you are there with them and that it is increasing their faith in you. And I pray that it will increase their faith in you, Lord God. Lord, I pray that it will remind them to know that you are with them through every step in these trials and in these problems. God, that you are just building their endurance, that you are just building up their strength for the very thing that you have for them, Lord God. Lord, I pray that through each and every single one of these problems and that through these tests, that you allow us to know that you are with us. That you allow us to know that this is all part of the beautiful testimony that we will share with someone, that will encourage someone. God, I pray that we will know that you are our only option. That only you are able to get us through everything that we go through. And I pray that we do not lose hope and lose sight of the good things that you have for us. I pray that on the days when it gets hard, that you will remind us that you are a good Father and that you have good things planned for us. And I pray that we will just exalt you every single day, not just on the days that are rough, but on the days that are good, knowing that you have allowed us to have this life So I pray that we would just continue to just seek you on the good days, on the bad days, and on the days when we don't even know what we're feeling. But God, I pray that we would just continue to trust you through everything. God, I pray for all those who are watching, and I pray for whatever it is that they might be going through. I don't know everyone's story, but Lord God, you do. And I pray that you would just be there for them through everything that it is that they're going through. Lord God, I pray that you would just continue to just be our heart's desire. Pray for everyone who might be going through tough times, that you would just touch their hearts, give them that encouragement to just hold on to you even when they want to quit. God, I pray all these things not in my name, but in your Son's precious name, Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Amen. Wow. I'm really praying for you all, and I really want you to be encouraged to know that God has not forgotten you. God has not, put you to the side. He cares about every single thing that you do, and He is with you at all times. So just continue to trust that, and like I said, I'm really praying for you, and pray for me too. This new chapter that I'm in my life is definitely difficult, but I know that through God that I could do all things by His strength. So continue to be encouraged, and if you have any questions, comments, any thoughts, or even any testimonies that you want to share, please share them below. I am just so excited that some of you have shared your testimonies with me and your thoughts and your comments. I love it. I absolutely love it, and it encourages me, and it encourages those who come across the page. So continue to share it, please. I absolutely love it, and I really hope that you will continue to do that. But as always, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. If you don't want to share it publicly, send it to my email. I check it all the time. It comes straight to my phone, so I will see it and get back to you as soon as I can. Subscribe if you want to continue getting notifications about the videos that I post. I hope this video encouraged you. I learned a lot just from doing this study, and I'm so happy that I was able to share it with you all. Let me know any thoughts that you have, and as always, be His masterpiece. Bye everyone.